turn your doll over. And I usually start at the bottom of the neck. And, oops, let's bring it back so you can see it down. So I bring this to like just below the neck there. And you hold that there. You can take these pins out. Pin it. And we're going to do the same kind of stitch that we just did. I think it's called a blanket stitch, is probably the word I was looking for. And you have the thread is here on the hair. You go into the head. Okay, let's just go through the head first. Go through the head, and that pulls it up. And then you can take it where you go back under the loop. Go back to the yarn. Go through the yarn. Make that loop again. That's there. And you pull that. Go into the hair. I'm sorry, go into the head. Take your pin out. Go around that weft. Go through that loop, straighten your loop out and pull it. And that is attaching it to the head. Once again, we go into the head. It's a little bit easier to do that. And then go through, go in between the hair or the yarn and pull that through. And it's starting to attach to the head. You would make a couple of these, what I call wefts for the hair, and so that you get to layer them going across. And you can leave like a ½ inch or a quarter of an inch. And so this one started at the back part of the neck. The next one will come a little closer to the seam and go back over to this seam over here. And then the next one will be over to that one. Now, when you start out, your shorter hair or your shorter yarn should be on the back, because as you get to the top, it gets a little bit longer. If you leave them the same, you may want to trim it at the end, but it ends up where you can get an idea of what it's going to look like by seeing how the hair is laying there. And then you can start to try and style it where you clip in here and then it's loose. Once you've done a couple of these, and I probably should have done a few of these ahead of time, and then you can cut it shorter, longer. When you get to the front though, these are going to be going down. When you get to the front to put the hair on, you turn it so that it goes across the face and you sew your weft that way. And then when you finish, you flap it back over and it'll give you this effect. All right, actually, this is not completely sewn on, but you see how that gives you, turns it back. All right, so this has a thicker yarn, and I sewed that on there. And because this yarn is thicker, I just put 2 rows on this. And where's the needle? Okay, so this is the front of the doll, and you want to, let's turn this back up. Okay, so this is the front of the doll. So this time when I go to sew it, I'm going to pull the hair forward. And I sewed this with a different color thread so you can get an idea as to what that looks like. And I'm going to bring it over to the edge and stick a pin in there, kind of keep it in its place. This was started on the other end, so it's over here. Put this back to the back. On this one, I'm using this needle is a curved needle, and sometimes you'll need to do that. That side is sewed. So I'm going to pick up, I'm not going to do that with this needle. I'm going to pick up part of the top of the head, go through the head, hold that down. Not sure if you can, okay, this is a little thick. And then I'm going to go around the part that's sewed here, going around where I sewed it. And once again, we got that loop that before you get to attaching it, you pull that loop and that attaches the head. We'll do one more here. We'll do another one, I should say. Go into the head. Yeah, I picked up a little more than I wanted. Pull that through. Go into the weft or the yarn. And then go back in that loop. And that gets to hold it onto the head. And like this is pinned here. You can go into the hair. And this is into the face, but for some reason this these needles are just like very dull here. This is probably the kind that we used to do hair weaving as opposed to the actual sewing. In, go through the hair, the yarn, and this one I'd have to re-thread because we're just about out. Make sure you go through that loop again. And since it's too short to do another one, we will make a knot and tie that off. Okay. So, my spider yarn is not down here at the moment, but I'm going to show you with the crochet needle what we would do with the spider yarn. And we would tie a knot, do a little at the end, and you make a loop for, well, I didn't do that right. Okay. Okay, go through the loop. Okay, tie it, and then we go through and you make a chain, like I said. And the chain would be, well, it depends on the size of the doll's head, but I would probably make it probably about 10 inches long. I'm not sure if, oh, this is not, okay. Crocheting's not working here today, ladies, but I think most of us know how to start a crochet. It's just, I don't seem to be able to do it today, but let's get it done. Okay. Okay. And you would make it kind of loose when you're using the spider yarn. And hold that little bottom there. And you make a crochet. with the spider yarn. If I get a moment, I'll go get the yarn. I'm not sure why it's not down here, but it's missing in action. And you have the yarn. It will be fuzzy. You make a roll of it, then you go back, make some more, go through each one. You do what they call single crochet. Seems like I'm doing double. Next row. And once you get a piece that you've crocheted about, so this doll's head is about this wide. So you probably need a piece that's about 4 inches long. And then you go up about another 4 inches. And once that's done, you can, and then when it's frizzy, Doris, would you like to share your doll that has the spider on it? Would you like to bring that to me when you get a moment? In the meantime, I'll show you another hair that we can add to a doll. And this is using acrylic hair. And you can get this from your local hair store that sells like hair for weaving. You don't want it to be something that's too long. This one is kind of curly and kinky, curly at the end, but kinky in the middle. And you would take your pieces. Oh, I know what I wanted to use. The faux hair that's in your package. You take that and this would be the back of the head. You'd use that same stitch. You'd cut a piece that long. You sew that on. You go up about a 1/4 inch and you start closer to the seam, to each seam and on the side of the head, and you would sew that on also. When it comes to the faux head, if I put my glasses on, I'll see what things on. Sorry, here it is. Okay, I got a little assistance. When it comes to the faux hair, okay, and then I can use that. Thank you. All right, we've got a little sample of some other hair. This is yarn that has, I'm not sure what you would call it, but anyway, it has some texture to it, and it can be added to your doll's head the same way that we did the other one, using use the cardboard to roll it around, sew along the top part of it, and then you take those and attach them one at a time onto the head, and you can get hair that kind of looks like that. And thank you. This is not a cloth doll, but it is a doll that has lamb's wool on it. And let's see if we can show that one. And this one has, it's going to be like the faux hair, and you can get different styles. I'll show those in a minute, just before we end. Okay, so this is a package of faux hair, and you can get this. Doll Maker's Journey has some of it. Michael's has it. This I got from Joann's, and there's a way to cut it because it gets, see, as you see, it comes off the edge. However, thank you, Doris. When you go to cut it, you want to cut it. This is the back. The back is like a solid strip. And your lamb's hair or the lambskin hair will also be very much, will have a backing on the back. And when you go to cut it, you want to cut the edges to be a little bit like 2 inches, about 1.5 inches wide. Let me just go to this end. First, you want to look at which way the hair is going on the fabric here. And this one wants to go this direction. So we would go down about 1.5 inches or 1 inch, depending on the size of your head. And you would split it till you can see, just fold it back. And then you can bring the hair forward. And then you can go to cut it. When you use the faux hair, I assure you it's going to go over. It's a little flyaway. Okay, and you can see I'm gonna pull that apart. Wow, we're almost 4 o'clock. So we pull this apart here, and then you would cut across here. And then you would take the strip. I would actually, on this size head, only cut a strip that's about 1 inch long. And then you would put it from here to here so that you can know where you cut that off. And then you split the hair again till you can get down to, you might need a comb, so you can get down to the root of it, or what they call this backing part. And then you can cut it. And I'm going to go down this way. Pull the hair forward. And you can do one of 2 things. One artist that I know takes this and glues this part to the doll's head. Glues these strips to the doll's head. And we would do it the same as you would sewing. Okay, pull that down. And see how this splits? Oops, cut the hair that time. Okay. And you just kind of pull it down. Because this is a cloth head, I would sew this, bring your hair down as best you can. And like I said, a comb, one of those small combs and a baby brush will work wonders, because like I said, that gets to be a little bit on the messy side. And you would lay that on there and do your blanket stitch again, going in and out, all the way around till you get to the side. And then you put the next layer about a 1/2 inch up till you get around to the top. And this is what your hair looks like. Now I pulled this. See how I sewed this on the bottom here? And then I put another row in here. Is sewed across the top. Not sure if you can see that. Or you can take this piece here, put it around the side of the head, and then cut a piece around and then attach it to the head. And then, as I did with the other ones, when you get to the front, you sew it flat going this way and then bring the hair back. And I like to bring it up into somewhat of a bun and then pin it and then pull out a few of the strands so that it has a little bit of style to it. And you can play with it that way. One thing that we didn't get to do just yet, and that is the hands, and we only have 15 more minutes before 4 o'clock. The day went much faster than I thought.
Gwen, we didn't do the arms.
That's what we're about to do right this minute. Okay, I'm going to take this off so that you can see the arms. Disconnect this from this doll. Okay, so you would sew your 2.5-inch tube, either matching or coordinating for your doll, and you would find the middle of it. Okay, you will find the middle of it. Let me take this one off also. Turn your tube inside out. Okay, so we're 14-inch tube, 2.5 inches. Oh, we have hair all over the place right now, but okay, let's say this is 2.5 inches wide. You sew those two together. You turn it inside out, and then you'll have a tube that looks like this tube here. You then take that tube, center it, and tie a knot. And you tie a knot, and you kind of have that. And then you take the end of this. This is a lot longer than I need it to be. And you take the edge. You figure out where you want that your hand to go, and then you take the edge, and what I did here was I folded in the ends and I just sewed it around the arm so that it's in place. I also took another tube and sewed it, and then slid it up on the arm before I sewed this on, and then you can pull it back up, and you sew that around the top part of the arm, and you can make a ruffle. With this, you can use like a piece of ribbon. Ribbon's too far away. And gather that and slide it up on the arm, as well as using like your fabric. And you can get like puff sleeves, or you can make them longer sleeves, but you tie that in the middle and turn your ends in on each one of the tubes, and then attach it to the sleeve. For those who have, the pattern piece has actually an arm and hands, but that's kind of the advanced class, or we would need another day to do fingers, but, and that basically are some of the steps that you can use to decorate your doll. And we've come out with a doll that has a skirt. Took the mascot off. Whoops. Okay, I'll show you on this doll that has hands, and even the one that I just made. The little pieces of fabric, you can sew like a triangle. All right, so like this has like a triangle. This has a triangle here. So you just cut it and shape it into a triangle, leave a little space on the other side, and you can make things like this to accent your doll's arms, hands, and different parts. You can also do it around the neck. We did have okay. Doris did bring me down the eyelash material, eyelash yarn, and you can get an idea of what that would look like on your doll if she had eyelash if she had, we're not getting this camera pose too well. Okay. Okay. You can get an idea of if she can have eyelash hair. Okay. There's the ascot. If you decide that you don't want this to go around the doll's neck, like that, you can take that pattern piece and she can end up having a hat that you can attach to her hair, to her head. And with this one, it actually looks like it has almost enough hair. I would probably have put another roll, and this way the hair would be coming out of the back of the doll. And it can be used as a hat. It can be used as on the sleeve, to cover the sleeve part. I'll show you on this doll. This one has like that, but it also could, those pieces or the shapes that's there can be attached so that you can have that on the doll. I'm going to show you one of my dolls, which is actually a mixed media doll, and it has a clay face, and it also has a cloth body, cloth and clay body. And I'll show you some of the design because we have only a few more minutes. Okay, this is called my brown derby doll. Or let's bring her down a little bit. So you can see on her arms, is that attached? That's not attached. You can see on the arms, I made a tube for the sleeve, and I made a second tube for the sleeve, and this arm does not bend. No, I don't want to bend it. And I made a cuff on the side here with a little bit of fabric, and then I put the two of these together. As you can see, this goes up the arm, side of the arm, and that goes on top of it. This has a skirt, and it has more than one layer. And I added some trim to that around the edge, and you can put like bows and things on your doll. The collar, which is something that you can put on your cloth doll, is just some ribbon that's been gathered together and then attached to around the neck. Pretty. Okay, this one I showed, and she's attached to. She's attached to the stand. Okay, so she has actually like pantaloons down here. Let's see if we can lift her up a little bit further. And you can see her pantaloons. That's a doll that has legs. And then she has another poof skirt. And then a friend of mine brought me some fabric back from India, and that was added to it to make layers. But it's just straight material gathered together like we did a long time ago. This is a tube of fabric that was embroidered, and this is some ribbon that I gathered together and to make her sleeve. And the last day of dolls that we had, which is an event we have usually once a year, but this year didn't happen. She won second place for creativity at the Day with Dolls event. And you see around the legs, I have more lace. So there's lots of things that you can do with small pieces of fabric. There's some trim that goes here that I sewed on, and it can make the doll beautiful. With the hair, when you pull it back up, whether you use yarn or some of the other hair, this is like a bow that would go on a hat, and I attached it to the hair to give it more style. And you can get an idea of what she looks like. Okay, ladies, I want to thank you for being a part of the class. You have my email, and some of you even have my phone number, or most of you have my phone number now. And if you have some questions, and I will be willing to answer them. And I think that's basically it. We ended up with 10 participants. I'm not sure who we all had, but I'm so glad you all made it eventually. Thank you for coming. And like I said, if you have any other questions that I can help you with, let me know, because our time is up at this point. Thank you, ladies. And
Thank you, Gwen.
You're
Thank
quite
you, sir.
welcome. And we thank the
It
Mount
was a
Vernon
good
Library.
class.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yes.
much. Thank you.
Very good
Thank you very
class.
much.
Thank you.
It was a beautiful class.
And we want to thank Arts Westchester.
Right.
Thank you.
Don't forget to send your permissions to me.
Yes, so that you can have a copy of
Right.
what we did today that can
Right.
help you.
Which will be
Thank
on
you
the
very
website.
much for everything. It was a good class.
Thank
Great
you.
class.
All right.
Thank you, Gwen.
Thank
All right, bye.
All
Thank
right.
Okay, bye. Yes.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. All right.